4:53 p.m. An earthquake of 7.1 magnitude hit the island of Haiti. Now, expert geologists stated that this disaster, which killed more than 300,000 people, occurred because there was a rift in the land. But the world entire knows that it was not because the earth broke, but rather because we broke our promise to be our brother's keepers. Because underneath the beauty was a rift. At the heart of the land was a rift. And the rift in the land reached the rift in our heart. And we lost our people and the land. Haitians call it the thing, Bagaila. It is nameless, this monster. Like the thousands of lives it stole in a brief moment. It is as if naming it more precisely might cause it to return. And it is that fear that you hear in people's voices when they say, "What have you heard about the thing?" And they ask, "What are they saying about the thing?" And they whisper, "Is the thing going to come back?" The thing, zigzagging haphazardly, following a trajectory known only to itself, striking one house, missing the next, leveling the other, lasted an eternity. 35 seconds. But how do you measure time when the ground undulates beneath your feet? How do you mark time when the earth shakes and breaks? There are so many ways it is described. This thing that manifested itself that January afternoon, leaving Haitians in such fear that even those whose houses were undamaged would not sleep inside. When I visited Haiti 1 month after the earthquake to connect with friends and family, these are the stories I heard. Each a piece of the quilt that forms a whole. I was told these things and repeat them here. Take them as you will. There is no proof offered. There can be no refutation. The truth is, an earthquake hit my land, and each person lived this experience differently. Ramise describes a dragon breathing fire, a quick flash of light, briefly seen, rapidly extinguished. And poor Ramise has never, ever even seen a dragon. There are places I heard in Langouave where the sea parted, leaving fish flapping loudly on the sand in some insane choreographed ballet. The earth opened, Magali said. The earth opened and swallowed the house and the people as if it were hungry. I saw my house sway side to side as if it were a branch dancing in the wind. And then I remember my daughter was inside. Chloe! Carol relives this moment every time she tells the story. Jacqueline describes a bombing, even though Jacqueline has never been through any wars. She was driving when the thing hit her car, making it bounce like a ball in the street. Elizabeth was seated at her terrace crafting a bracelet. Her chair bounced. her chair, or was it the street? Avenue Christophe was bouncing, she said. There are bird marks on her black and white tiles. Where from? Where did this dragon-breathing fire come from? It is not the corpses in the street I will remember, she says, although I've never seen so many dead people before. It is the silence that preceded the wailing of the women. The building where Willie was attending a meeting collapsed. With an architect's instinct, he took refuge under a portico and survived unscathed. His other friends did not. Someone accompanies Marcel home. He's found moments later wandering in the street aimlessly, his eyes vacant. What are you doing in the street? Why aren't you home? I opened my gates. I opened my gates and I did not see my house. His entire family had been indoors at the time. Blanc, in a street corner, was in a cloud of alcohol, exchanging insults with another man who screams out, "You filthy drunk! All these insults left him completely unmoved. It was the thing that moved him, plastering him with force against the wall. The other man, Mademoiselle Michel, he was hit so hard with falling debris. He died without even saying ah. And Womel Joseph, the blind violinist, whose pregnant wife died in his house. Counting time, 30 minutes playing a sonata in his head, 30 minutes of prayer, 30 minutes of a sonata and 30 minutes of prayer before he was rescued. And Jeannette, the bank where she was working collapsed on her, but her husband would not leave the site for 3 days. He could feel her there. And suddenly he heard her voice, and all she was saying is, whatever happens, remember I love you, whatever happens. And when she came out and she was rescued, her very first gesture was her hands in the air, praising Jesus. Josie's brother was hit so hard by falling debris, his eyes were projected out of their sockets. She saw so many dead and so many wounded at the hospital where she brought him. She lost her head. At the ministry Marie-Yolaine was working, she jumped out of the second floor window with her stilettos. Not a sprained ankle, not a scratch, just a trauma. See, Haitians talk about the trauma of the interior and the trauma of the exterior, depending on where you were at that time. How do you measure fear? On what scale? What is the magnitude of anguish? We have had to armor ourselves against the fear, against the pain, against the dead. In the street where JC worked, there were 80 corpses. I started to cry when I hugged her. We have cried too much, she said. We have no more tears. There are things human eyes should not see. Human ears should not hear. Another family's maid, poor body, was found underneath the rubble. Her poor body, so broken, was collected into a sheet, and when it was lifted, it formed a lump of meat dripping blood through the fabric's weave. There are things you do not witness with impunity, even a month later, even secondhand. 2 days after visiting the downtown area, I felt feverish and laid down sick. There was little left of the Port-au-Prince I knew, but rubble, broken buildings, and still a few corpses in the street. Entire areas where Godzilla seemed to have stomped indiscriminately. Monster. Thing which destroyed my city, leaving the ghosts of more than 200,000 hidden between the smoke, the debris, the steel dust, the sand. These women stumbling out of houses, clutching their children. These men caught under the rubble. Their deaths are no longer their own, but ours. Whether their lives or their deaths were for hope, a new beginning, or for nothing, you will decide. Let the dead bury the dead. The living must change the world. Evans, at the guitar.
Chance to do it one more time for her, amen.